Con Guys, and this is the Con Guys Show, coming to you straight from the nerdy heart of Hollywood, California.
And this is Jim with theconguy.com.
She's been here with theconguy.com.
Katie here, aka the Con Girl.
Zordon did not want 5 teenagers with attitude.
My name is Derek Sam.
I'm Danae Sams, and that's my brother.
We are your home for news, opinions, and interviews from the world of Comic-Cons and fandoms. Your ultimate insiders for all things con.
We are back. We are back. We are back, everybody. And Cheeseman on the couch will be joining us shortly. But I just want to say we are back. I'm so excited we are back. But we not only are we back, we are we are 10 years back. We are entering our 10th year. 10th year. Derek, I'm so glad you were able to make it tonight. Remember, Derek, it was 10 years ago, early March. No. It was 9 years ago because we're entering our 10th year.
This is our 10th year, right?
Yep, we just started the 10th year, season 10.
Yeah, that's crazy. That was when Laura and I had just started dating, and now we've been married for 8 years and some change. That's crazy.
Well, Katie, how long have you been with us? Because you were really early.
Okay, well, so it's 2025, which means we started in 2015.
So, no, we started in 2016.
I want to say I came in like 2017.
Yeah, you were
I'm
real
not
soon.
sure exactly. So I know, like I said, I know where I was living, but I can't remember when I moved. Like out of that place. That was a whole pandemic ago. Yeah. Like, who knows what happened before that? I don't.
Isn't it weird? Like, the pandemic, we still were on during the pandemic. We had a great time online during the pandemic. The pandemic was awful. I never want to say we had a great time during the pandemic. Let me rephrase that. We had a terrible time during the pandemic, but we kind of came together. We changed from in studio to here, and we're still wanting to do some in studio stuff. So hopefully that'll happen eventually. But Jake, you've also been kind of a cool guest host with us for some time.
I've been with you since you had the first guest cancel.
That's probably about right.
That's right.
So, Cheeseman will be joining us soon, but we just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has been with us for all these years. It's been quite a ride. We have changed. We've done different things, but through it all, we are going to commit to you. We are going to bring you the world of Comic-Cons through the lens of filmmakers. We're a bunch of filmmakers. We're smack dab in the middle of Hollywood, California, and we have some good stuff coming up. But the big stuff, and here's the deal. The one thing I have learned over all these years of podcasting is audiences hate lots of chatter at the beginning of a podcast. And we're going to dispense with that and cut right in. So our very first podcast we ever had is going to be what this podcast mainly is about. Oh, check out who's just joining us.
Oh, hi, Luke.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, hi, Luke.
Oh, hi. Oops.
Oh, what's happening? There we go. And Cheeseman, if you can get our con guy up in the corner there. So first of all, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. My name is Jim. I am one of the founding members of the Con Guy here. You can find me at James D. Fry. And Mr. Couch.
Hey, it's Cheese in his room right now, not Cheese on the couch, but should just go by Cheeseman for now on. But one of the founding Con Guy members and also a screenwriter. So into the fandom of writing.
All right. Katie.
Hello, everybody. It is Katie Christine, aka the solo con girl this evening, as Danae couldn't be here. So representing the con girls, and I cannot believe we have been doing this for 10 years. That is wild. Thank you, everybody, for still tuning in with us on Monday.
I guess this is our 9th anniversary, which is cool as we head into our 10th year. Heading into the 10th year just sounds cooler, though.
Yeah.
Mr. Derek.
Derek Sams. When we started this, I would introduce myself saying I'm a writer and a script processor at the time. I have since I was a software engineer and then suffered in a lot of the big tech layoffs. And now I'm a middle school teacher. Although I still consider myself a writer as well. I have to get very creative with teaching middle school.
But you've had a great big giant change. You are what else now?
Well, I mean, I got married within a year or so when we started the podcast, and also started foster parenting. And we have 3 kids with us now, 18 years old, 9 years old, and 8 months old. First time we've had a set of 3 that weren't biological siblings or anything. And the 9-year-old is with us with plans for permanency.
That's awesome.
Granted, things are always a little bit, who knows what could happen, but that is the direction. I guess that's the plan with the social worker and everything when he came to us. Right now, those kids are all in bed, except for the oldest, who is studying hard, but they're all in their rooms, and I get this time to spend with you all.
That's awesome. And Mr. Hummus?
I'm Jake. I'm a writer here in Los Angeles, an aspiring bounty hunter, and then also one of the executive producers of the original pilot called Chasers, which had its premiere at the Sundance Film Festival back in January. Just played out here at Slam Dance. It's going to CineQuest in Cleveland this month.
Wow.
And we're having a great time taking that around.
Just going to say that I was able. Oh, wait. Let me make your cut. Let me make you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
What's it say?
It was festival merch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. For those just listening, Jake has an official mug from Sundance Film Festival 2025.
That's right, yeah.
Oh yeah, let's be cognizant of the listeners.
It is slate gray with a convex cylindrical shape.
By the way, Jake, I went, and Cheeseman was there too. We went and saw over at Slam Dance.
That's right. Yeah.
Film. It was pretty great. It was a complicated. It looked like it was such a complicated shoot.
It was. The Slam Dance block would have been on Friday, February 20 something. I'm not good with dates right off the top of my head. And then it played again on Tuesday, but it was part of the episodic block. But yeah. I was co-written and directed by my wife Erin, who created the series. And it was shot way back in December of 2023, and they did post on that for like a year, and kind of sat on it. We're like, we want to send this to the big guns, and they sent it, and bang bang. So.
But real quick, give us 30 seconds. Tell us about it.
Chasers is about young professionals in Hollywood, and it kind of compares the pursuit of the empty promises some find in their careers with like if the entertainment industry was a bad boyfriend. And it's basically different people kind of asking themselves or denying the fact that, are they chasing their dreams or are they pursuing their abusers? So it's the cool thing is it's a half-hour pilot and it's staged to look like it's a single 30-minute shot through this LA party following these characters around.
With dance numbers.
With the Flash Mamba dance numbers. That's right. Yeah.
That was great. All right. So hopefully everybody will get a chance to see that. Or the series once it comes out.
That's what you're going to see. That's right. Yeah.
That's what we want to see.
I happen to know a producer who used to be the head of Lucasfilm that might be free to if she wants to pick it up.
She's not doing as much now.
Foreshadowing certain topics.
Yeah. So anyways, one thing that I've learned is audiences don't like me to prattle on and on, but there's one little sidetrack I would like to take us on real quick. Did you guys did anyone watch the Academy Awards?
Yes,
I did.
Part of them.
Okay, part of them.
Not like 2/3 of it. I think I started watching it at like 6:30. No, so like half of it.
And it was kind of I guess you would except for Wicked, it was a heavier year, like a little bit heavier fare. Although the
Bob Dylan wasn't too heavy. That was pretty light.
Yeah, that was nice. And the one that won, Honora, it's not typical fare, I guess, here in America but if you can get past maybe 45 minutes and into when it gets funny, it's really funny. It's a funny movie, but it's difficult to watch. It's difficult, so I'm not going to say it's not. Did you guys see The Substance this year with Demi Moore?
I haven't seen any of the movies except for Wicked. I'm not
It
gonna
is
lie.
probably the grossest movie I've ever seen in my life. I was like, oh my God. But I guess that was kind of the point. But here's the point I was trying to make. Congratulations to all the winners. But here's the big announcement that we heard last night. This year marks the 50th anniversary of Jaws, 1975. If you guys haven't had a chance, we had 10 episodes about Jaws just a few years back. To celebrate it, Steven Spielberg's original summer blockbuster, the Academy is unveiling a brand new exhibition dedicated exclusively to the film, opening September 14th this year, only at the Academy Museum. So
I actually went to the Academy Museum a few months ago for the first time.
Really?
They did have the Jaws shark. I think I sent it to you guys when we went.
Yep.
They did already have it on display. And then I did find out about the exhibit coming up. But it's a pretty cool little museum. You can get through it in a couple hours, maybe even less. If anybody is in the Los Angeles area or coming to Los Angeles, it's a pretty cool setup. When I went, they had a cyberpunk exhibition going on. So it's pretty cool. Especially if you're very much a film buff, like kind of everybody here. They have a general store. But I mean, my favorite room was like the rainbow room, which was all of the costumes kind of in a rainbow display. Lots of costumes from throughout the years. And I got very emotional. For those of you who don't know, I am technically a costume designer.
Yes, she is.
But I haven't done a lot in costuming in recent years. But I'm inspired by Hollywood costumes. And so it was a really special experience. So if you guys get the chance to go, maybe we can make a con guy outing to go to the Jaws exhibit or something.
Oh, we are definitely.
Sure, Luke would hate that.
I don't like myself right now that I haven't even gone and seen just the shark.
I know.
But it's hanging up, and I did tell my coworkers because we went for a work trip, and I was like, "Hey, did you guys know this shark?" And I told them about Greg Nicotero, which it has a blurb on there, but I was like, "I interviewed him during the pandemic," and they were like, "What?" So, yeah, it was a fun little moment.
That's cool.
Did you guys hear about the new NECA releases that are coming to celebrate the 50th anniversary?
No, tell us, Luke.
No, but I hope we're about to.
Yeah, I'll try to get a picture to show at some point. They're all not the right type of files to open, but basically they figured out a way to they're doing a full-scale shark, and it's coming out on the third quarter this year. But basically they turned it into the game of the original Jaws, where you it's kind of like Operation, where you try to pull things out of its mouth, and then it'll
interesting.
The game is to try not to get the shark to bite it on the way out and try to.
So it's kind of like
you're trying to get the Eichner boy out of there before you digested.
Let's see if I could do this.
What were you saying, Katie?
Well, so it's kind of like what's the other? There's other games.
Crocodile Dentist.
What's up? Yeah.
Crocodile Dentist.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So you have the tank,
Yep. Oh, look, the parts of the ship.
All the elements super realistic looking, and even the shark is just spot on. They've been waiting a long time to do this.
Yeah.
Well,
where's Quint? I don't see Quint's legs.
That's why you need in there.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That's pretty cool.
Let me see.
But back in the day, Luke, they had this game, but the shark looked a lot different. It was a weird. What are you doing?
They are reissuing. Actually, they're doing. So they had more of the cloth versions that they did for Quint and Hooper, but now they're doing kind of more the style of the Back to the Future ones, where it's going to be all kind of like the rubber look, but they're doing a Quint and Hooper in this style here. So you can put the Quint in the mouth of the shark. Hopefully it's big enough on the inside you can fit them in there.
Yeah.
But it's all pre-order right now, but I'm super excited about these, and the whole new box design is completely different than what they did before that they had at Target and other places.
Very cool. Well, that's going to be cool. I can't wait to see that. Is it on pre-order right now?
Yeah, all the stuff's pre-order. So
they're all with NECA.
Yeah, and both me and the other Jake have pre-ordered the shark already. We definitely don't want to miss out on that one, but I will be getting the other ones, but I'll wait because those will probably be in a lot of stores. And
for those who don't know, each of us, I think, kind of has the movies that do it for us, the ones that we just can't get enough of. And Cheeseman, when it comes, I know Cheeseman's got his. And what are they? It's Jaws. What else?
Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, E.T. Pretty much like every like older Spielberg kind of
Well,
thing.
we're going to
So it's
actually
the
talk
Universal
about.
Studios theme park circa 1997.
I know.
We're actually going to talk about some of those films in just a
The
minute.
good old days. When
Wait. Let me make
when it was all King Kong and all the Universal monsters, Earthquake.
For the listeners at home, Luke is holding up a black mug celebrating Universal Studios Florida.
Like I am being legit when I say if I had a time machine, I'd go back in time just to go to Universal back then again.
All right.
I'm going to try that. I never got to as a kid. My first time going to Universal Studios was after I was living in LA as an adult. And then right around like New Year's 2019 into 2020, my family took a trip. We all went to Disney, and Laura and I went over to Universal Studios so we could check out the Harry Potter park there and see Diagon Alley. But we also booked it and rode the ET ride. That's the only time in my life I have ever ridden the ET ride.
But did ET say her name right? Because ET is.
He did not say my name at all because they stopped us going in to allow someone to use like the disabled access part of the ride, and so the timing got off, so I did not get to hear ET say my name.
Oh no!
Who did ET call you? Dolores?
It was just saying a bunch of random names. Yeah.
Well, listen, we do have to kind of jump on here, so we're going to get to the topic we're talking about tonight, which is what is this?
I was just showing real quick. Here's the Matt Hooper that they're going to have for the.
Such is our life here.
We're going to post links for this. We gotta get the collectible game up this season.
No, we do. And just so you guys know, we are going to lean in a bit more heavy this year on our expertise, which is filmmaking, and we're in Hollywood. Why wouldn't we? Filmmaking and Katie with costuming and collectibles. We want to make sure that we're not talking to you about stuff we don't know anything about. I mean, we still will. I'm sure we will.
We don't know anything.
We can pretend, but
right there in the name, con guy.
But
right.
we also care a lot for those of you who might just be joining us or stumbled upon this on any of the places you listen to podcasts. We here all have different opinions. We all disagree and agree on things, but we try to make sure that we keep it civil and positive. We do not like to be toxic. So we kind of try to. We have a lot of different viewpoints, but we have fun. That is the number one.
Britney Spears
fun, and we all get along.
Yes,
we're all friends. So we try to sway that way. So.
Isn't it amazing?
It might sound like we're being really mean to Jim sometimes, but it is.
But I can take it.
But he deserves it.
No, but I do love the fact that, and we are jumping into WonderCon news here, but I like the fact that right from the beginning, our governing principle is we're not the toxic side of fandom. We are fans who love stuff. We will talk about stuff that we think missed the mark, but we are fans who are exercising our opinions, and as Obi-Wan would say, it was for a more civilized age. So that's us. We are civilized.
Is that a lint roller?
Yes,
it's a lint roller. I don't have my.
Is there Jim or dog hair all over it?
So if we're more civilized, I'm wearing my Lucasfilm shirt because we are talking Lucasfilm tonight. But anyways, the one thing that we do know a lot about that I think we're experts on, and we're going to kind of go do some updates real quick. WonderCon. WonderCon is this month. It's at the end of the month, Friday, March 28th through Sunday, March 30th. You must have a member ID to get your ticket. It's real easy. Just Google WonderCon member ID. It'll take you right to the page. Get your badge. Hotels are now available through their hotel site, which is called On Peak. And just real quick, to reserve one of their hotels, you must give a deposit equal to 1 night room plus tax. Credit cards will be charged 1 night's room rate and tax on around March 7th. And then for reservations canceled after that, March 20th, on or after March 20th, deposits are non-refundable. The hotels that you are kind of looking at that are right next to the Anaheim Convention Center right now are the Hilton Anaheim, which is basically the host hotel. Anaheim Marriott, right across the way. Hotel Lulu. I'm not sure I know what that used to be something else right at the end of the road there, right by the steakhouse.
Is it this one that used to be the Suites one that I stayed at?
I don't know. It's that we got the two main hotels, the Fountain. You walk down just one block, and on the right-hand side, it's what that used to be. I think that's hotel.
If it's like here's the convention center, a little space, and then a little bit further down, then it's been renamed.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where I stayed a few years back.
What was it called? Spring Hill Suites?
I think it's changed its name like 3 times.
Because the other two on the list right now, Residence Inn and Spring Hill Suites, all of them are around $240.
That's where I stayed. Never mind. That's where I stayed.
They're all around a $240 a night, except for Hotel Lulu, which is $165 per night. So,
but just so y'all know, if you haven't gone to WonderCon before, or maybe you're not from Anaheim, greater Los Angeles area, because it is so close to Disneyland, you can literally walk to Disneyland from the convention center. There are plenty of hotels through other means that are not on peak for you to find rooms at. You may pay a little bit more depending on how close it is to Disneyland, etc. But just look, like if you go look around the area, that's all pretty walkable. That's the nice thing about its location, is because you have both Honda Center, Angel Stadium, and Disneyland within walking distance to the convention. It is very walkable, even if you have to walk a little bit of a ways from your hotel. So,
and you know what? Add on a day and go to Disneyland. I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
In the past, they've done a deal, I think, with WonderCon and Disney. I don't know if they're doing it this year.
Sometimes on the floor of the convention, Disney will have a booth set up to get your tickets to go across the street. Disney's kind of so busy these days. You haven't seen a lot of
It's hard because you have to do reservations now and stuff.
So other things to think about. Let me see. You can still sign up to be a daily volunteer, which means you'll get a ticket for that day. Katie, have you done that before, the volunteer stuff?
No, I have friends who've done it. I've never done it myself because I've always attended as a guest. But I know a lot of people who have done it and like the experience because, yes, even though you are working for a portion of the day, you still have some time to go and walk around and just kind of get the whole vibe of it. It's a good thing to do if you are a new convention goer who wants to kind of, maybe you get a little bit intimidated. I'm an anxious person, so maybe it's out of your comfort zone to go to conventions, as there is a lot of people at WonderCon, not as many as San Diego Comic-Con, but there is still a lot of people. So it's a good way to kind to dip your feet in the water. You can I think
it's around 90,000. I think from what I've heard.
It's a good way to kind of like I said, get an introduction to conventions. And obviously there's other conventions that we'll talk about throughout the season that are smaller, that are also good for dipping your feet in the water. But that's the nice thing about WonderCon is you have space to walk. There's a lot of space to walk. There's lots of food trucks, which is one of the highlights of WonderCon that San Diego Comic-Con does not have, is there's just food trucks galore, lining the whole entire sidewalk going into the convention. And it's yes, it's a little bit pricey, but there's usually pretty good food. You can find quite a good ethnic variety, and it's nice and easy if you're tired. Last year they had more seating outside there. It was really nice, but also I don't know if I should tell the secret, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't care. If you go into is it the Hilton that's on the left, that has the lobby? The Hilton. So if you go to where the Hilton is, they have other eateries on the lobby of the Hilton, but there's plenty of seating in there as well. So if you need a place to sit down inside, rest your feet, they also have seating there. So
all right, before we go any further, we are going to read some comments because we're so excited on our very first time back for our 10th year. General Gilman, we are here and ready to rock. That is right, my friend. Andy Harrow, so glad to see you. Thank you for the 10 year. We're heading into the 10th year. And Andy, happy birthday coming up next week, my friend. I know that you got a birthday coming up. We're going to talk about Star Wars in just a second. Hello, Lily. Lily has been saying, when are you guys coming back? We're back, Lily. We are back. And what was that comment?
Oh, that was just basically Lily.
Chatter is the best part of any podcast.
I agree. I come for the news, but stay for the tangents.
Okay.
I listen to.
Wait, I gotta say, wait, this one. Wait, I thought y'all got canceled. We get canceled every other week, Brad.
That's right.
Oh man, and then here's one. Brad had something about the jaws. The original jaw, it had a jaw connected with rubber bands. Each item you pulled off with the hook, the jaw would slowly close. It was a game of who could pull the most. I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that too.
It's kind of like those Venus flytrap type things.
Sounds like anxiety. Those games.
Mm-hmm.
Operation.
That's where we all got our anxiety from. Let's be real. Operation, Trouble, you name it.
All right.
Not hungry hippos.
But let me go. Oh, sorry. There we go. All right. So, Katie, one last. We will have a lot of WonderCon information coming up, guys. We have a couple of weeks until we get there. We're going to have a show. We're going to go over everything. They haven't yet quite gotten to the level of like offsites, like San Diego Comic-Con. I mean, nobody's to that level, I don't think. But hopefully, we'll have some information. I know that I've heard that there's going to be a big return to WonderCon this year because it's been kind of light in the past couple of years. So I'm kind of excited about that. I know that as far as vendors, Funko has made a big showing of all their exclusives that are coming. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting messages from folks.
I thought that the schedule was up, but it's last year's.
Oh yeah, usually the schedule comes out 2 weeks ahead of time.
But I looked at the website and I was like, "What?" But it's last year because it says Godzilla -1 and the Boy Kills World, and I'm like, "That was last year. That was last year."
It was a good year last year. I couldn't get into that panel. I was so
Boy
upset.
Kills World. Oh, so good. So
wait. What? Brad says you say that every year. What do I say every year? Oh, I don't know. I just want to say WonderCon it's right up there. It's perhaps one of my favorite conventions. I love going to it. Like Katie said, there's room to walk around. It does get crowded. I love the fact that you have such elaborate cosplay going on at this convention. Oh yeah, Andy said he's hoping for a Last of Us panel, but Brad, it's going to be bigger this year. Yeah, it's going to be bigger. You just wait and see.
I'm hoping we get a bigger year because I feel like it's kind of been pretty slow still coming out of the pandemic for conventions that are still trying to pick up that pace that we had prior to the pandemic, and I'm hoping that we can kind of get back to that a little bit for sure.
Yeah, there were some big years, and Luke, you remember like your first couple of years, it was gigantic. Remember when they used to have big movie screens? We saw 21 Jump Street.
Scott was there.
Who?
Ridley Scott was there with Prometheus, and 21 Jump Street was there. A lot of like big film stuff, which is pretty cool. Yeah,
here's the deal. We all saw, and I don't know if you guys saw a couple this past week, Hollywood Reporter, and we have it on our website as well. It looks like James Gunn has said that there are no big plans for DC Warner Brothers to go to San Diego this year.
Yeah.
Their calendar does line up for something at WonderCon. I don't know if they would do that, but let's just say they need a big launch. And we'll see what they bring to WonderCon. I'm kind of thinking there might be something special at WonderCon, at least maybe a sneak preview or something like that. So we'll keep our ears to the ground and see if something pops up. I think that would be great. So anyways, and also LobbyCon. LobbyCon is one of my favorite things about WonderCon. You show up in the lobby of the Hilton every night. Everybody is there and everybody is friendly. And it's a great time. So anyways, Katie, I do have to throw a question to you real quick. It says that this is the 20th anniversary for the Masquerade at WonderCon. The deadline for entry forms is March 10th. And there's a cool MC this year. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, because you know a little bit more about that than most of us.
So this year, I can't find it on the website, but Ashley Eckstein is the host.
Yep.
If you guys have watched our show in the past, you know that she usually does the Her Universe fashion show every year at Comic-Con. If you guys go back to our YouTube, you will see I got to interview her last year going into the Her Universe fashion show, so you guys can check that out. If you guys are not in the con circuit, you might know her as the voice of Ahsoka. She's also the voice, I believe, on She-Ra, I believe, as well.
Oh, is she? That's interesting.
Yeah, so she will be the host. So the Masquerade is a fun little thing at the end of the Saturday night where the best of the best costumes come out. People compete for prizes. With cosplay, there's individual and group entries, and they are judged by a bunch of people in the industry, and then they do a variety of prizes, like for best costume, best group. In the past, there has been a kids program and an adults program. So I think it's probably the same. So you get to see a lot of kids dressed up as well. So even if you're not an a person who cosplays, but you've always kind of wondered, like, what is this whole cosplay thing at conventions that I hear about? It's, I hear people dress up, which people do dress up, and WonderCon has fantastic cosplay because of the space that is allowed the venue has. But this is more in an area. It is at the ballroom in the grand ballroom. It's on the other building that's like right next to the convention center. If you guys have been to the convention center in recent years, if you haven't been in a while, they have made it bigger. Within the last 10 years, it's gotten bigger.
Is it in the arena?
Huh?
Is it the arena?
Yeah, the arena. Sorry. Yeah. So it's like next to the convention center, but it's technically a separate building. It does have a long line, so you do want to get there early. But it's usually about 2 to 3 hours long.
Yeah.
So there's this whole thing where people chant every time someone goes on, and it gets longer and longer, and you're there till 11 o'clock at night. But it is fun. Usually they have it. I believe they do like a televised thing later where they show it later if you couldn't go to it.
Yeah,
but it's a really fun experience. People are able to present their costumes in whichever way they kind of want to. So they come out, they'll do some sort of little act to showcase their costume or costumes. Sometimes people will do like a lightsaber battle or a little skit or a dance or whatnot. It's up to the creator's choice. But it is fun. You get to see a lot of beautiful, absolutely just wonderful costumes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are someone who wants to enter, you can still, like Jim said, you can still submit to be in it.
But it's saying on their website, it says that they might be filling up fairly quickly. So
they've probably mostly filled up. From the past, people do submit very early because they put a lot of time into it. And a lot of people who do these masquerades are people who go from convention to convention competing in cosplay competitions. So it is like kind of its own culture in a way, but it is definitely fun. And you get to sit down for like 2 hours after walking around all day. So if you have the energy left, that's the one thing is, like I said, it does have a long run time, but it's quite a fun thing to see. And it's in like an amphitheater type theater. Like it's a big theater. It's not just like a room where you can't see, like it's a amphitheater seating. So you get to see pretty well.
And I'm going to say this, even though they say every year they have an overflow room, and to get your tickets to view the masquerade, I've gone a few times. I've never not been able to get in. I mean,
I think at Comic-Con it's a little harder.
Yeah.
At Comic-Con they have another overflow room for the masquerade because it does get filled.
I mean, it's full. It's pretty packed. But
at WonderCon, like as soon as the last panel ends in the arena, I think is once it opens, like it's, people get in line around then. So
And also it's interesting. Intermission entertainment will be provided by the Saber Guild, who will dazzle with an all-new Star Wars inspired show.
I believe they are there. I believe there's usually a lightsaber show in the middle of it. Pretty
it's the intermission. And then the Corps dance crew will also be there to perform a Dungeons and Dragons themed routine this year. Nice. That's cool.
Sounds fun.
Wait, isn't this like the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons this year?
Last year was.
Oh, last year was. Okay.
1970. That's why the big Lego set came out, and the commemorative stamps at the post office, the Lego minifigs, which I have all but one of. Yeah.
And I'm going to announce again, Derek's working on putting together some special Lego programming for us. It's going to happen.
I will say this much, like we've had a lot of special Lego sets lately. Because when we first met the 9-year-old who's now living with us, we had a scheduled meeting. We're like, okay, we need to take a gift to hang out with this boy, something fun to do. We're like, let's buy a Lego set. So that, of course, was something great to bond over because it was an activity as well as a present. And then, of course, at Christmas time, we had to buy the Lego family tree, which we are still building, and we plan to have a lot of pictures in.
That's so cool.
So more to come.
Yeah.
I love that.
If you guys go to the WonderCon website, which is comic-con.org/WC, and you go to the Masquerade tab, it does show you all the categories from the last few years and the winners. If you guys are curious about what you're in for, it tells you what the categories were, who won. Like last year, like there was a judge's choice, and last year the best in show was a 14-person recreation of the Lord of the Rings characters.
Oh,
so
wow.
They were the best in show.
Do they have pictures of it?
No. Yeah.
Oh, we got to find that.
Yeah. And there was
on the WonderCon's X account.
It's like, so yeah, it's you can kind of get an idea of what kind of stuff goes into this.
Katie,
All right.
what have your masquerade costumes been in the past?
I've never done the masquerade.
Got it. Jim, what was your masquerade costume in the past?
Yeah.
I know
This
Ben
one's grabbing
has,
a Bud Light. Well,
I
not
know
Bud
Ben
Light,
has
an IPA.
participated in it like for someone. I know he like was part of it, has been a part of it a couple times. I do have an idea if I ever did do it. I don't know if I should share it on this podcast.
No, don't give it away. Don't give it
don't
away.
give it away.
But it would be, what I will say is if I ever do manage to have the time and effort to put into a costume, it would definitely be Legends of Zelda themed.
Ooh,
So-
nice. And there's also that documentary, I was about to look it up, about A Fan's Hope, or what was it? The documentary about folks going to Comic-Con, and one of it detailed a very elaborate cosplay costume that they took up, and they got into the if I can find the name of that before the end of the show, I will let everybody know. But it's a really cool documentary that shows you everything that goes into getting up into the masquerade ball. Listen, it's coming up soon. The WonderCon coming up the 28th through the 31st of this month, March the 20th. It's 2025, and tickets are up. Tickets are available now. And one last thing, Luke and I are both appearing on two different panels, and both about same type of topics about using your creativity in your career. So we will be able to make more announcements the closer we get. We're not really supposed to give times and dates and all that stuff until about 2 weeks out, but we can tell you that we will be there, and so we hope to see you there. All right, guys. WonderCon 2025 coming up in just a few weeks. Hopefully we will see everybody there. But now we are going to jump into the part of our show which might have got the most eyeballs for tonight. Last week, the Hollywood Reporter, I'm going to just set us up. After more than a decade in a galaxy far, far away, Kathleen Kennedy, who is the president of Lucasfilm, is charting a course toward retirement. The Lucasfilm boss has told associates that she plans to retire by the end of 2025. We'll caveat that. A source confirms to the Hollywood Reporter. It was also reported in Puck News Monday night. Kennedy joined Lucasfilm in 2012 as co-chair alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas, and a few months later took the reins after Disney paid $4 billion for the company and Lucas exited. The little asterisk I just put there, she never said I'm retiring. No. She says I'm not retiring from movies. So that's cool. So that leads us to what she's probably doing is she's leaving the post of president, but she's going to be producing. But before we get into that, I have a little refresher course for us. Kathleen Kennedy, for all the love and the hate that she's gotten through the years, let me just say this right up front. We know that we are stepping into dangerous waters just by talking about Star Wars on the show. Star Wars, which is my favorite fandom. It's my favorite sci-fi.
It didn't used to be this way. Never had to be this way.
No, and Jake, I'm going to throw it to you.
Didn't used to be this way.
Well, Jake, can you talk? I mean, why is this such dangerous waters for that we're going to talk about tonight?
I don't know. Since the late 90s.
That's a long freaking time. What happened?
The internet happened. Before then,
Yeah.
people would meet in person, and people are nicer in person. And they didn't have that much Star Wars. You had 3 movies, a bunch of comic books, and the expanded universe, and that was it. And then the internet happened, and it got terrible. So.
And then the prequel happened, and people had opinions.
And they shared those opinions on the internet, which was terrible. But yeah.
Well, before we talk about Kathleen Kennedy and her reign at the top of Lucasfilm, let's do a little refresher course, because Kathleen Kennedy, for those of you who may not know, is one of the most accomplished producers in Hollywood history. And I can just say she was involved with writing the visuals of my childhood. Way back in 1982, we had this little gem that I love. Kathleen Kennedy was associate producer. Do you guys know what film this is we're looking at?
That's Poltergeist.
Poltergeist.
I'm afraid to say it out loud.
It's really impressive that Kathleen Kennedy was working as a producer on movies at that age too. She looks really young.
Yeah. Well, and wait, I didn't. Let me see. There's one that I forgot to put on here. One of her very first films came out before Poltergeist, which was Raiders of the Lost Ark. She was one of the associates on that film. But let's go through let's go back through memory lane. Some of the big films. Perhaps one of her biggest films, right here. What are we looking at?
E.T.
E.T. Kathleen Kennedy was a producer on E.T. I wish Ben was here for this one. One of the first times I met Ben, he was dressed up like this character.
Yep.
What movie is this? You guys recognize it?
Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom. This is the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And this next one is the movie. Wait a second, let me put this on in case people are giving any comments. The movie that was just announced apparently is having a sequel. I wonder if she's involved.
Oh, are you serious? They're doing a Goonies sequel finally?
I feel like I've heard about it, but I didn't know it was
but-
greenlit.
Yeah, they've been talking about it for years,
Mhm.
but apparently there's some heat on this. I cannot confirm nor deny this one. I would love if it was true. If it were
Okay,
true.
here's the thing. I would. This is where it gets controversial, y'all. I love Goonies. I am a 80s baby, 90s kid, so like I love Goonies. I have the pops somewhere. I don't know where they're at, but so if they can do a good sequel, I'm all for it. Like I
Yep.
would love to see how they do that.
Yep.
But I am also hesitant because like if you
Oh,
mess
yeah.
with something so good, you have a very like it can get really disappointing to see a sequel. But
Yeah.
the cast for that movie was just so good. Like
Lightning in a bottle.
Mhm.
just so good. And especially
true.
now that Key has I can't think of his first name, but Data.
That is his first name.
Huey Kwan.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
Couldn't remember his full name. But now that he's gotten back into acting, I mean, it would be now's the time.
Yeah, it would.
I
It'd be
want
cool to
short round the Indiana Jones.
What?
Short round to have his own
Yeah.
Indiana Jones,
Mhm.
series. Do
They
like
should have had a short round series. That would have been awesome. That's Disney's
Well,
next Disney
And I
Plus.
don't know if you guys are familiar, our listeners, our viewers are familiar with his story, but long story short, he got out of the industry. He went to school, grew up, got out of the industry just because it wasn't the right fit, especially for people who are of Asian descent in Hollywood. But then after Crazy Rich Asians came out, he
Yeah.
realized that there might be a place for him again in Hollywood, and he came back. And you guys all know he now has won an Oscar from like Everything Everywhere All at Once. And
Yep.
so it's such, and him and Brendan Fraser both had this huge
Resurgence. I
year.
love it.
And these reunions, like his reunion with was it Steven Spielberg, like his reunion, or was it? I can't remember who it was, like from the award season last year.
Was it Steven Spielberg and Harrison Ford too? Right? Didn't they
Yeah,
have a
and they just like had reunions, and it was so heartwarming as like
Yeah.
a 90s kid to like see these people who kind of got out of the industry for really sad reasons and really hard reasons come back and have this new like renaissance, and it's we love to see it because Brendan Fraser's great. I'm so happy for him.
I am too. Here's another one. Okay, and we'll speed through these. Some of this is Kathleen Kennedy here. Gremlins, which was one of the. It wasn't the first. It was one of the films that prompted the PG-13 rating. I remember that. That and Temple of Doom. She had a part in both of those. Oh, Kathleen, yeah,
She's got an edge.
she does. I love it. And Cheeseman, here you owe her your childhood, my friend. Look at this.
Back to the Future trilogy.
Yeah, she was producer on all three films, and not just that, she had some really good serious ones. You guys know what this frame is from?
Yeah, it's Color Purple.
Color Purple.
Yeah,
which is where Oprah Winfrey, her very first acting gig. We heard her talk about it last night on the Academy Awards, and Whoopi Goldberg really shined in this one. Here from 1987.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes, and I can't understand why they haven't franchised this better. This, I guess because two studios.
I think it's because it's WB and Disney. So
I don't know if we'll ever see them working together again.
Yeah, because I was actually talking about this. Like I think it was last year when I rewatched Roger Rabbit, and I was like, man, if we could ever get something like this again, it would great. And we've gotten close with like Space Jam, but it's still not quite the same.
It's all in house under Warner Media. Yeah,
exactly. But I was like, I think there were 3 movie studios involved with
Space Jam,
Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, well, it was the Looney Tunes, it was the Disney characters, and then I don't know who owned Betty Boop at the time, but she makes an appearance. So
was Popeye in there?
No, he was not.
But either way, like now it would be so hard to get all those studios to do something together. But I love such a classic.
All right, just a couple more. I know that you guys, I think some of you like this movie more than I do.
Oh, this was this movie was my entire first grade year.
What's the movie, Jake?
That's Hook. That's Dustin Hoffman playing Captain Hook in Steven Spielberg's Hook, which I didn't know people didn't like until I was an adult. But this was
until I met Jim.
A lot of people not like Hook.
Apparently, but that was my jam as a kid. Yeah. I was.
That's funny. My family, when it first came out and we saw the trailers and things, I remember my parents being really skeptical, and I remember not wanting to see it. And then finally, I think we saw it like as a rental, and it changed our minds. And I was, that pretentious child who mocked things like Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles at age 6. But we don't have to talk about that.
I didn't
But yeah,
realize
Hook won me over when I actually saw it.
I didn't realize people didn't like it.
Well, it's I was one of the people that did not love it. I liked it, but did not love it. It got a little bit, I don't know.
Jim had a snobby 5 years in movies.
That was my snobby years.
I think for me, the reason I don't like Peter Pan, like the actual Disney movie, I'm not a fan of it, and I know that is going to get people so riled up.
Katie, we just got canceled again
because it's also not super accurate to the story. Hook is closer.
Neither is any Disney animated movie.
I know.
Every single one they completely.
We could have a whole show on it.
Can we
Derek, we should do that. You, me, and Danae, we should do a show on that.
You mean in the original Arabian Nights, the genie didn't have impressions of Rodney Dangerfield and Jack Nicholson?
Wait, let's get Brad in here real quick. He says, I think they might officially announce the Back to the Future series from the creators of Cobra Kai soon. Now that
Cobra
Kai has, he means like a prequel or like a reboot. That would be interesting. And then he also says, there's also buzz that E.T. sequel might finally be happening. Oh, really? Now that Spielberg has Goonies and Gremlins sequels. Oh, there's a Goonies? I mean, there's a Goonies. We just talked about a Gremlin sequel? I did not know that. We're going to have to get some...
there was that Gremlins animated series on Max.
With how much, CGI has changed and how much special effects has changed, that could be terrifying.
No, puppets. Right. Sorry, 100% puppets. Don't... Yeah.
I know. Keep it.
Even that, I just mean in general though, all the other stuff in special effects has gotten better too. Not just CGI.
But
the worst part of the movie, the worst special effect was when you saw them, the hundreds of gremlins walking towards you. It was, it was back to stop motion and Harryhausen, which I love that stuff, but it didn't age so well. All right, 3 more. Just last 3. They say they want to. Yes.
Oh, good news, Brad. Thank you for that.
They should.
Thank you for that good news.
Brad just said he said they say they want to use puppets for gremlins. That
would puppets be considered? Puppets would be considered practical effects, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I mean, they're probably too delicate to use, but I happen to know from a fact because I've seen them in person that at the refrigerated vault of the Warner storage archives, where they keep all their props and costumes and cars and things, they still have a lot of Rick Baker's puppets from Gremlins 2, the new batch, intact.
Ooh!
Oh wow!
But they're over 30 years old now. So
they're probably temperature controlled and all that.
They are. No, there's the normal air place, and then there's the temperature controlled cool place, and that's where they are, so that they don't decompose. Yeah.
Gremlins and Labyrinth sequels are saying they both plan on using puppets. I didn't know there's a Labyrinth. This is pretty cool. Good notes. All right. Last 3 films that we're going to just showcase from Kathleen Kennedy. Of course, we could not talk about her record without this one. Cheeseman, what is it?
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
That's right. Jurassic Park, one of the biggest movies of all time. She's had a hand in probably the biggest movies of all time. And then last 2, these are this one right here. I did not know she was.
Yeah. Schindler's
He's so young there.
I was going to say, is that Schindler's List?
Schindler's List.
with a very young Ralph Fiennes.
Is that a
Academy
prequel to
Award
Conclave?
Don't.
It's the exact opposite.
Well, that movie
Yep,
too.
exactly.
That movie, what they did with black and white,
Yeah.
with just the if you guys haven't seen it, it is not a sit down and have a nice light watch for anybody who thinks that.
You
I
can't
had
make
to watch.
out during it.
I had to
Like
watch it
2012
as part of my my like history curriculum when I was
Yeah.
when I was in high school. But it's all in black and white. But there's certain moments where like the light is on and you'll see the light, or you'll see something red. Red is a very dominant color in
Yeah.
it, and it's just so good.
Well,
It is.
the girl in the red dress, that's the most heartbreaking thing
Yeah.
about that movie almost, you
Mhm.
know?
Yep,
The little girl in the red dress.
absolutely.
And I just wanted to put that one up there because everybody thinks that Kathleen does just popcorn movies. That was the furthest thing from a popcorn movie. That was a
Far
serious
from
film.
it.
She also was the executive producer of Empire of the Sun, another really weighty film. And the last one I want to throw in here is kind of a mixture between popcorn and seriousness. Signs.
Oh, Signs.
I never knew that. This was
Yeah,
M. Night
several
Shyamalan.
Shyamalan films are on her list here.
Yeah.
Yeah, her list goes on and on. But M.
The
Night
Sixth
Shyamalan.
Sense.
Like a
Yeah.
crazy huge career. Yeah.
But there-
Mhm.
All right. So, anyways, all that just to say, one of the best producers of all time, but apparently she is retiring at the end of the year. And I just want to lead us into that discussion by quoting Andy here. He had a quote, where to go. He goes, and Andy's very honest, I do not hate Kathleen. Some of the Star Wars I really like, and some of it has been disappointing, like The Acolyte. So I think it's time for her to go. All right. Andy is not holding back. Wait, here
I
we
think
go.
a lot of people think
Yeah.
that.
But yeah,
And
share
Kathleen-
Andy's other quote, because this
Yeah,
is
Kathleen Kennedy is one of
positive.
the best movie producers of all time, but being a producer and a president are two very different things. Not everything from Star Wars from the last 12 years has been good, and not all has been bad. So
Not everything from Star Wars for the last 40 years has been good.
Yeah.
Oh,
She had nothing to do with the holiday special.
have a
Nothing to do
serious
with the holiday
question, though.
special.
Like,
So-
how much authority and power does she have on yes and no's, or the creative aspect? Like, is she just running the business, or kind of hiring different people? Like, how much could she even really affect if she would have? Because there's probably other people that are greenlighting things or bringing the ideas, but is she the one that could sort it or have opinions
So,
about that? Because
No, I actually, the only insight I have into her method is it was last autumn. I got to attend the Austin Film Festival, and she was one of the panelists who was speaking at one of the events. For those who haven't been to the Austin Film Festival, what they'll do is it's almost like a con, but no cool costumes. But like they have different panels and interviews happening in different hotel venues and ballrooms around the city that you can just like walk to. And so she was doing a talk and like getting like special award later on, but it was like a big ballroom. And as we're asking her about her career, it seems like with the Lucasfilm stuff, a lot of her method was very much focused on the way that they used to do it back in the day, where it was a pretty small team, and it really was like one project at a time. And, just hearing her talk about this thing, and then the thing that struck me the most about like listening to her talk was just like how eloquent she was when she was describing just the process and like her process with creatives. But she just said like, yeah, like back in, the stuff that you love, you would be surprised by how small the teams were that were working on these things. Cause like, at its heart, it's like 6 or 7 people doing a lot of this stuff. And she was kind of carrying a lot of that with, the stuff that Disney was doing with Star Wars for the last 10 years now, 10 or 12 years. And then like towards the end of it, they could like take questions. So I actually got to ask her a question. My question was kind of related to Jurassic Park, which this reminded me when you brought that picture up, Jim, where I was just like, so like right now where you are with Lucasfilm and like Mandalorian kind of brought volume technology to the forefront because like so many more people started using it since that production and everything. But like this is me asking her, like you literally had a front row seat to CG dinosaurs. Is there anything right now that we don't know about technologically that has you excited for storytellers to get their hands on? And if she did know something we don't know about it, she didn't mention anything of that. She was talking a little bit about AI after that. But
wait, stop. Did you say you were talking to her?
Yeah, I got to ask her a question. That's one of the benefits if you go to these things and you wear like a red bandana in the audience because it's Texas, and they're like, you in the red bandana, and you're like, no one else has one. So no. So I was just I got to ask her that question. But
I was privileged to I was able to write. I interviewed her once for an article back when Lucasfilm was being purchased and new movies was coming out. And granted, it was probably a dozen different publicists on the phone making sure, but she was very elegant, very cool, and gave me a lot of hope for the franchise. She really loves it, regardless of what people say. And I know there are complaints. There's a lot of complaints, but she loves this franchise. She cares deeply for it. She loves George Lucas, and she was trying her best to carry out his mission, which I thought was amazing. And
yeah, basically, I kind of brought that up because that's the crux. I guess the core of that was it seems like the way she described it seemed like the production method really hadn't changed that much. Whether it was Lucasfilm back in the '80s doing the scrappy kind of things, or now that it had like big corporate overseers and stuff like that, it sounded like it was still kind of the same number of people making decisions in the room.
So can we talk about like what went wrong as far as the fans who are the harshest? We're not going to please them. It's not going to happen. So let's move them over there. But for like the true fans that perhaps soured on Kathleen Kennedy, what went wrong? Anybody?
Anderstone, according to South Park,
What'd you say?
So, well, there was that South Park episode where she's like replaced with someone from a parallel universe.
South Park, they hit it. Oh my gosh, they're vicious. But Jake, what were you about to say?
It's true.
I was saying I think if one of the biggest takeaways that I walked away with, well, let's say it's like the new sequel trilogy that Star Wars put out between 2015 and 2019. I think my big takeaway from watching all those movies was it was kind of interesting and tough to see like there's two paths, of course, if you've been following the story for all your life, where it's like there's this extended universe that existed all the way over here, and now the movies are taking this direction. And it felt like the big screen, and I understand why they did this, of course, because you can't, you don't want to concentrate all your attention on pleasing 200,000 people when there's millions of people worldwide that need to buy tickets for your movies. So you want to make sure it's kind of a more insular story that isn't bogged down by so much baggage from decades of novels and comics and video games and such. But that being said, it was like something about the movies did feel a bit more redundant rather than pushing the story and the galaxy forward in a way. So, and again, I can understand that approach too, because I'm sure there was someone else, pushing the stop and go buttons at the end of the day that said, well, we want it to be Star Wars, and this is what Star Wars is. It's, there's what they saw 40 years prior about.
There is the Star Wars. She relaunched the franchise. She started with J.J. Abrams' Star Wars: The Force Awakens, which grossed more than $2 billion globally.
Fantastic milestone. Yep.
Yeah, and it reinvigorated the property as a big screen brand. But then Disney released, this is probably a mess up, Disney released a Star Wars film every year from 2015 to 2019. But then they took a pause after Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker, which came out to mixed reviews and mixed response and only made half the money of Force Awakens. I don't blame that completely on that movie, though. I think
there's one major thing that happened that shifted it.
Say that again?
I think there's one major thing they did that shifted the whole kind of Star Wars people just going off was...
Wait, before you say it, are you going to get us canceled by saying this?
No.
All right. I don't care. Go ahead and say whatever you want.
They killed an unkillable character right off the bat. The minute you kill Han Solo,
yep,
they just lost half their audience. Kind of like Walking Dead when they killed Glenn. Walking Dead went like a different direction, or just didn't seem to have what it did before. Well, the Negan stuff was still interesting, but once the Negan thing was over, because that was, going after that was like taken, like getting the person that killed your favorite character. And then once that was resolved, Walking Dead just never seemed the same.
Okay. That was a good analogy, except for I don't like that you used Glenn, because Glenn dies in the comic books, and like he needed to die in the show to keep that part, because like I can tell you, sorry, I'm gonna go on a nerd rant real quick.
Yeah.
So when
Bring
I
it,
was
Katie, bring it.
when I was reading the Walking Dead comic books, now mind you, I never finished them. Like
I did.
but I was reading them. I started reading them after the show came out, and then I kind of was like stopped watching the show so I could catch up on the comic books, because I would rather the show be ruined than the comic books be ruined. I don't know if anybody else thinks that way, but when I read the scene with Glenn's character in the comic book, I know where I was. I was at Universal Studios in my break from work. Don't yell at me, y'all. I threw my comic book. I was so upset. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because of the impact that his death has in the comics, they had to keep it in the show. Like, just
did that same impact carry over?
Yes, I think it did. But well, here's the thing: like, if they had changed it and he hadn't died in the show, I think it would have upset more people, because it is a very, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I read something and it has a very strong reaction,
yeah,
when they change it in an adaptation and I don't get that same reaction is when it's hard.
Oh yeah, that's
Because,
that was something that I found true with the Why the Last Man TV show. I just wasn't getting the same emotional reaction as the book.
But can I say this though? Like, to Luke's point, I
know, but killing that was not
series or mess it up.
I'm going to agree with him a little bit on this. Even though I know that Glenn was killed in the comics, and this, I think that's after Glenn was killed, the TV show did feel different, and I get it. And what Luke's and and I'm not saying they shouldn't have killed him. I stopped watching at that point, mainly because I thought
I kept watching because the vengeance of how horrible Negan was.
I watched well, you know what? I did keep watching, but I wasn't quite as happy because that episode was too brutal. I thought it just elevated brutality a little bit much.
I had other reasons.
The artwork in the book is even worse. Like that's the then they get to the panel that actually shows, and it's just like
I saw what they did with Negan. Like, they changed the Negan storyline.
They did. Yeah. So like I won't disagree that like the trajectory of
Star Wars.
The trajectory of the show did change, but I know a lot of people, Luke, including my roommate Emily, who's on the Con Guy sometimes. That is why she hated it. She was like, "I'm sorry, what did they do to Luke?" Like, so I think that was probably 80% of people's upset.
I'm going to say this: they had such, and they could not have predicted. God rest her soul. Carrie Fisher. They could not have predicted that. And I had the opportunity to interview her before her passing as well, and she was funny, very funny. But here's the deal: we were speaking about Comic-Con. A lot of us were at the Comic-Con event when they announced the return of Star Wars. They brought out the 3 new stars, and then they brought out Carrie, Mark, and Harrison on stage, and it was like old time church revival. It was loud and raucous, and it was like people felt good. And then the fireworks went off over the concert behind the convention center. We never once saw those 3 characters together.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's a bummer. Yeah.
And I think
that's a big. As soon as you finish your sentence, I have thoughts.
No, I want to know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, I think like that in itself, because it's not just the love of those characters, but it's also from a philosophical and literary perspective why those characters work so well together. They're like Kirk, Spock, and Bones. They're like Harry, Ron, and Hermione. It's either, I forget whether it's Aristotle or Socrates that talks about the head, the heart, and the belly, and these 3 parts of man. It's like the id, the ego, the superego. There's a way that characters are done like that as a trio in so many stories, because it's the 3 parts of like the way a person thinks that we connect with. And we kind of see that with Dorothy, with the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Lion.
Yeah.
We see it in Percy Jackson, but in kind of a different way with Annabeth and Grover. We see it. I mean, I could go on and on. You do see like this trichotomy. Yeah, with the Lord of the Rings, kind of, but maybe a little less though, because but you see this kind of thing, the way certain characters work together because of the psychology of that, because they are providing different voices of one psyche in a way.
The Hangover.
And Sure. Actually, you might be right about that. I've seen The Hangover, but don't know the series as a whole.
Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't remember it, ironically.
But yeah, but that took away kind of a human element when we weren't faithful to those characters. It's
Yeah.
not just that Han Solo died, but the way he died, that didn't make a lot of sense. It wasn't like decisions that he and Leia should have been making based on what we knew of them before. And I think it also goes back to why people were very upset with Glenn. At least for me, it wasn't just that Glenn died, it was the way he died. It was the fact that they were stretching this out really far with all these long speeches from every character before they did anything. And the way we saw that happen, they didn't even show us who died. They showed us from that character's perspective with blood running down like they had killed the cameraman. And no character anywhere in that show was experiencing it in that way. When we watch any story, we go to it for an exercise in empathy, to go through an experience that another character is experiencing. That is the way storytelling has always been, all the way back with the Greek theaters of the way ancient times. That's what we do. So when you remove us from what that character is experiencing, and so that we don't get to experience it, it's just a twist, just for the sake of having a twist, just for the sake of spectacle, then you have missed the whole point of the story that brought us there in the first place. And I think that's also happened with a lot of the new Star Wars movies. When Luke Skywalker tosses that lightsaber over his shoulder, we haven't gone on some journey where we've seen Luke be broken, where we could actually experience and understand what he's going through. It's just Rian Johnson wanted to pull the rug out from under you and surprise you, to hook you and keep you watching. And it was entertaining for a little while to watch that in the theater once. But after I left the movie theater, I kept thinking about it more and more and got more frustrated because we lost the soul of it. Yeah. And when Luke Skywalker says it's time for the Jedi to die, like, we haven't gone on a journey for you to take us there as a storyteller. Like, you haven't taken us there. Let us go on a journey.
Is the only episode I have. I'm sorry, episode 8 is the only it's the only one of the films I haven't watched repeatedly. I've only watched it the once because it broke me a little bit how much I just hated it. And I'm sorry. I don't
Mark Hamill dog on it too. He's like, Luke would never say that, or he was kind of a little against the dialogue or the way his character was portrayed.
Well, Luke, Mark Hamill was not for this script, but he went along with it.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I have watched it twice. I think maybe twice, because I did a full rewatch on like May the 4th weekend where I watched them like a few years ago. And mind you, I had never sat through all of episode 2 up until that time. But
you mean episode 8?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, when I watched all of it, like the whole thing. I watched one movie a day for the first 8 days of the week of the month. And I think I hated it more the second time. Like, because you'd sat on it, like Derek said. Like, you're like, okay, like, because Emily, she was very much like Derek. Like, when we saw Luke's character arc, she was like, that's not Luke. Like, we didn't like what happened to his character. Like, that's what she turned her off to it. And then, of course, episode 9, which we were talking about earlier, they committed like just the worst. Like, it was just we all know. We all know. But
I don't want to say I hated it. I'm not going to say I hated it, because I have there's pieces of that film, like the throne room battle, I love. I just think
the pieces are great.
And I even
the like the most was done well, but that is only one element, according to Aristotle.
I don't think I like them killing Snoke that soon, because that just like they're building him up to be something, and they're like, oh nope.
No, fans were building him up to be something.
Yeah, and them killing Luke at the end
to be anything.
Wait! What did Jake just say? What was that?
I said fans were building him up to be something. The movies were not, and that's why. Yeah.
I think
I don't know. I think there were hints in there from the movies, like when you see him, the same way they introduced the Emperor in the original trilogy.
You mean hologram? The way everyone talks to each other in Star Wars via hologram?
The fact that you only saw him in the hologram and he was the bigger boss, like that was implying that he was going to be a big threat later, and then he never was.
What was his relationship to the Emperor? Was there any?
I think in Rise of Skywalker they said he was a failed clone attempt, because they showed tubes of other Snokes cloned from Palpatine's.
Okay.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. Oh. And they brought back.
And I like Rise of Skywalker. I know a lot of people didn't.
I did.
I like. You didn't like it, Katie?
I liked it. I didn't think it was great, but like I liked it.
It wasn't great.
But I like here's the thing.
Compared to The Last Jedi. I liked it.
Oh, I'm the only one in this room who likes Last Jedi. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I'll see myself out. Thank you
You
very
could have
much.
written
No.
a much better
This is
script.
not a
killed
toxic space. This is not toxic space.
Which
Katie?
one is which? I'm totally drawing a blank, y'all.
Oh,
So
Force
the one that
Awakens,
has
Han
last in the
Solo
title
dies.
is not
Last Jedi, Luke Skywalker dies.
Yes.
And The Rise of Skywalker, Princess Leia dies.
That's what made me
So
sour
Rise of
on this
Skywalker is the last one,
trilogy.
right? That's episode 9.
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's what I
That's
thought.
what made me sour on it. Is the
So-
fact that they killed off one of the main characters, one per film. In my never to be humble opinion, I really think that they messed up and including the main characters so much. They should have been in the background, way in the background.
Yeah.
Let them just
be
go live
legends.
happily ever after. This should have been about the new generation and not.
I mean, I don't know. Top
Let
Gun
them die old.
did the classic, put him front and center, and that was fantastic. So, I can totally understand them being like, people want to come and see Han, Luke, and Leia, so let's get them in that story.
Wait, hold on. I was just gonna say something about Kylo Ren and Lily, okay. I don't hate Kylo, I really don't, but that's because of the way that everybody's like, I hate Kylo, but if you think about it, it's like he's definitely very much like Vader and Anakin. So I don't hate that, but another thing I think really made people mad is Kylo and Daisy Ridley's character.
Ray.
Is it Daisy Ridley? Yeah, that's
yeah.
I sometimes confuse the actresses from Rogue One and the.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, that whole relation. Yes, he is Lily. But Lily said, for those listening, that he is a brat. He is. I will not deny that. I still liked his character. I think Adam Driver just did a great job with that. But
Adam Driver.
I know a lot of people's biggest problem with Rise of Skywalker was the whole thing between Rey and Kylo. They were like when I was in the movie theater, I don't think I saw it with you guys. There was the last scene. Spoiler alert! If y'all haven't seen Rise of Skywalker.
Spoiler alert!
6-year-old.
Everybody was like, "Are they gonna kiss?" Literally, everybody was like, "Please say this is not the way this is going." I think that made a lot of people mad because they're like, "What is happening?"
Yeah.
And they could not get past that. But I have a question for you guys, and I know we're starting to run a little bit long, but I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know that everybody is super attached to Star Wars. If they were raised with the original trilogy or they were raised in the prequel trilogy, because my generation was the prequel trilogy. So we all have our own views of what Star Wars means to us, where we want the story to go, what we get from the characters.
Yep.
And I always tell people, when it comes to, despite what I said earlier with the Glenn thing, when it comes to adaptations, it's impossible or continuations, it's impossible to please everybody, like we talked about. But especially when it comes to adaptations, because there is books and stuff and all that stuff for Star Wars, is no one can compete with our own in our own imaginations and our own way that we picture something in our head. And it's really hard to put that on film. That said, do you think that it helps or hinders a franchise more when someone who is insanely passionate about a project works on it? Which do you think
great
is
question.
It's a good question.
Well, this actually curtails really good into something I wanted to talk about too, because let's not forget, Kathleen, we're focusing on the movies. TV shows, of course, where Star Wars has been flourishing for the last 6 years since Mandalorian premiered. And I think
they haven't been flourishing. Keep going.
This is a half-filled glass, my friend.
I know.
A half-filled Sundance mug. See, with projects on TV, you can bring in perfect example. And actually, you got a great example of both, because with working with Jon Favreau, you have Dave Filoni doing, those seasons over there and other stuff like that, bringing in stuff that he did on Rebels and Clone Wars and bringing those characters in. I think he's doing stories as probably the bigger, he's literally the Apostle Paul to George Lucas's original teaching of what Star Wars would be, kind of carrying it forward even more so. And it's big fan of the prequel specifically,
Right.
and doing work that people love, specifically in like Mandalorian season 2, which I think is like the high point of that show.
Mhm.
On the flip side of that, Tony Gilroy comes in and specifically says, I don't really have any affinity for Star Wars whatsoever. And he gives us Andor, which season 2 is coming out when? May? April?
It comes
Next
out
month?
this week,
Andor?
March 4th, I think.
No, that's Daredevil, my friend.
Oh, that's right, Daredevil.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
We don't
Daredevil.
have time to talk about how excited Daredevil.
Yeah, I'm excited for Daredevil.
No, but then you have Tony Gilroy coming in, and because he's not really focused on like fan pleasing or even just pleasing himself or being like this
April
one's for the fans.
22nd says
Thank
Andy.
you, Andy. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you. He's more focused on he's going to bring in Derek Sam's science with story. You know what I'm saying? He's going to come in and be like, this is what you do with a scene, with characters. This is what you do with arcs and things like that. And this is how you build this world and follow this guy who's a criminal, this senator who's trying to secretly fund the Republic or the rebellion with money and stuff like that. So he's way more focused on the story rather than the mythology. I think both of those, like, it kind of depends who it is, but I can see both of those, Katie, to answer your question, kind of serving the franchise as a whole, because both of those have kind of been happening.
I agree. Yeah. By the way, what I meant was the series came out of the gate super strong, and I think Andor was a high watermark. I think Mandalorian was. Some of the others suffered a bit, and then the Acolyte, some would say, lost its way a bit.
Still haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
All Jedi are bad. Everybody bad. It's just like, just stop it. But
how's Skeleton Crew?
I've only seen 4 episodes
about Skeleton Crew.
I like it. It's Goonies in space.
Yeah,
it's exactly what it is.
Cool.
It's Goonies in space. But just real quick, I think that episode 8, which was divisive, I'm not going to say it was bad. It was a very well done film, but it was a divisive film. I think because of episode 8 I blame that for the backlash with a lot of the toxic fans went crazy toxic, but the normal fans kind of were split on it. I think that's the reason Solo, A Star Wars Story, bombed, because I thought Solo was not a bad film. I enjoyed it.
Well, also, that was the one that came out less than 6 months after Last Jedi. Yeah, so that was a pretty fast turnaround.
They had such fast turnaround now that I think about it.
Too fast. They were diluting it. They were making too much. And then I also think they never recovered from that for the final Rise of Skywalker film, which was not a bad film. It was, and J.J. Abrams did a valiant job trying to tie it all together after having disparate ideas from. It's not that Rian Johnson was a bad director. He just had a different idea of where to go than J.J.
I think that's what hurt it the most.
Yeah. There was
not having the same person do the whole story, I think, is where it failed the most, honestly.
I have a simple way of putting this, but it's not really offensive, but I feel like you got kicked in both balls. You had Han Solo dying, and then you had Luke, and then after that, I think just people were done, and I think that's why it didn't do well. You kicked them in both balls,
and they knew that Carrie had already passed.
Yeah,
and I remember in episode, you and Brad saw episode 8 together, and I was cheering at the scene when he's fighting all the walkers on the salt plains, and and when he revealed he wasn't there, I said, "Awesome! They're not killing Luke," because all of us were afraid that Luke was dead, and he had survived, and the theater erupted in cheers, only to 15 seconds later go completely silent as Luke was gone. And nobody cheered at the end of the movie. Yeah. Like, I just think there was something
bad
about
writing.
I don't know if it's bad. It was the cadence of it. Like, that was an abusive scene, I think, to fans to say he's not dead. It's like
storytelling.
Yeah.
So
like Lily agrees with Luke, but and Andy was asking about the video games, but I don't think we can go into everything now.
It's maybe another show.
But like, I do know that the extended universe was kind of cut short. They pulled it all in. That pissed off a lot of people. They went different directions than what the one thing, and Katie,
but then like other strings and things have been brought back in by Filoni in the shows.
Slowly pulling them in.
Yeah.
And just we do
have a live action Thrawn. We got Thrawn in live action. Awesome. Great.
Do we?
In the Ahsoka TV show.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Just real
Great.
quick, we got to say this as we wrap up. Where is Star Wars going? And that's part of since the name of the podcast, this is the future of Star Wars. We kind of talked about where it got divisive. I don't think it got bad. I think it got divisive. It had different sets of expectations. There are 3 people that were up, from what I understand, from the Hollywood Reporter, up for this, and one of this was, I never knew this. They had somebody in line, Rayne Rayne Roberts. Sources say that the former Lucasfilm executive Rayne Roberts, who was at the company for 12 years, was groomed by Kennedy as her replacement. He just left this past week to go work for Searchlight, another Disney company. So that's interesting. So the 2 people that are still there that everyone thinks about are coming up. You guys know who they are, right?
For those who don't, why don't you?
Well, Mr. Dave Filoni, who you were talking about,
Okay,
Jake,
yeah,
who is
yeah, makes
Mr.
sense. Yeah.
Who, and then Jon Favreau.
Yeah. Well,
Both
aren't
great choices.
Aren't they finishing up the Mandalorian Grogu movie?
Yes, which I am so excited about.
What do you guys want to see?
I want to see them. I want them to basically do the stories that I made up with my brother when I was playing with action figures, which was the adventures of Han, Luke, and Yoda. But our version of Yoda was very different because he was kind of like a retired Jedi Knight who is more like, imagine a Jimmy Buffett fan, kind of, and also a ladies' man. But
on board.
So, he'd be in the background of these adventures, like at the bar drinking.
Luke's out of ammo.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think this is why I was fine with Last Jedi, because the stuff we made up was way non-canonical compared to what Rian Johnson was writing. So I was just like, great, I don't care. Our Yoda completely destroyed the character. And as soon as lasers started blasting, he'd be like diving behind barrels, asking for someone to save him. It was, he was our comic relief. But that's what I want to see.
Yeah, Katie, what are you gonna say?
I was trying to think about it. Like I said, I'm probably the least Star Wars fan of here. I am still a fan, but it's not like my identity, as I'll say. I just really love Jon Favreau. I really like what he's done both with the MCU and with Star Wars. So I think it would be an interesting passing the baton off to him. But like I said, we've seen with Kathleen, as you guys said, we can use good producers, good directors don't always mean they'll run the whole thing well. But I would be very curious to see what the Star Wars franchise would look like under
According
Favreau.
to this Hollywood Reporter article, only about 10% of the job is creative.
Yeah.
The rest of it is just running a company. Is that Jon Favreau? And
I don't think so.
And is that Dave Filoni? But here's the thing.
Maybe the setup of that job is part of the problem. Because you need, because the Marvel MCU had Kevin Feige, who was operating as a showrunner
and
for this
loved Marvel
series. And that's what Star Wars needed and didn't get with the new trilogy and everything else. And we've had some good stuff. And Jon Favreau has been great as a showrunner structuring it, because I would say he gets the soul of it. Like when we watch The Mandalorian, we care about the journey this character is going on. Like I've said before, that's a story about foster care. And he has to hand it back over. He has to live without this child that he's been raising. And then for Mando, at least, well, I won't spoil anything, but he does see him again. But that.
Well, there's a movie about it.
Not in his own show. They reunited in a completely different show than his own show, which was
that was so weird.
But then you have the 3rd season, and they were there.
Right.
Anyway, but there was there's a soul to it, and you actually see a hero get to be a hero. You don't have people just making weird choices just so the people who are overseeing the movie can make sure they check the boxes to pay the right fan service, or to make sure this character dies off at the right time so that they don't have to pay them for the next movie, or they can meet their contract requirements or whatever. You've actually got a human journey, which is what we go to stories for, and I think that's probably what has been lacking. And I could go into this a whole lot, but you should just read C.S. Lewis's essay, Men Without Chests, and that will explain everything for you.
Don't give me homework.
May I add something else?
Yes.
I'm a middle school teacher now. I have to.
Yes, Jake.
For me, the story of Star Wars, even more as a kid, was as much as it was like the actual story within the films and whatever, but it was also the making of it was as much a part of the story to me.
Yeah.
So like as a kid, like equally up with like Luke, Leia, Darth Vader and everything, that like the names of Dennis Muren and Phil Tippett and Ken Ralston were like rock stars in my brain. And then, you know, later on you've got, I forget his name now, but basically the guy who invented Photoshop with his brother, John Knoll. So like, and then like every iteration of this franchise for me was always a technological push, because basically it was a storyteller who has an idea, but the filmmaking tools don't exist to tell it. So they literally have to build it themselves. So you build ILM to tell Star Wars. You start working with green screen and a lot of digital backdrops and CGI characters for the prequel series. You start doing volume work for The Mandalorian, so you can, on a television schedule, go to some really exotic, either space stations, planes, things like that. You can't travel to Tunisia and film Tatooine scenes on a television schedule. You got to do it in a more realistic, in a more manageable way.
Yep.
So something, whatever the next filmmaking thing is, I'm kind of hoping Star Wars is the torchbearer for that still.
I agree. I agree. I can tell you this, that Katie said something though that I think it really resonates with me, is that it depends on when you first saw a Star Wars film, what your relationship is with the series. And for the people that came about during the prequels, that's their introduction to Star Wars. I was 8 years, I'm an old man, but I was 6, 7, or 8, and 70. I have to do my math. I didn't see it when it first came out in theaters because Star Wars stayed in theaters for 2 years. Well, so I did see it. I saw it like a year after it came out with my parents in a theater. We were living in the middle of cold Midwest Illinois in farmland. There was nothing around us. And I remember watching Entertainment Tonight. Is that show still on? I think so.
Yes.
Talking about Star Wars, or it might have been Return of the Jedi.
I'm pretty sure it's still on.
Yeah, but it was this series. There was something about Star Wars that just grabbed me, and I saw it, and I wanted to see it again and again and again. I remember when it first came out on video, there was a store called Video Concepts in the mall that was showing Star Wars on their display screen. There was a crowd in the mall standing outside a store for 2 hours just to
watch the movie.
Watch the movie, I'm guessing is what he was going to say.
He froze. So did Luke. Okay.
Everybody went away for a second.
No, you're back.
Oh.
Luke's still frozen though.
He's back.
Now he's back.
Yeah. I think we might be losing. I guess we should.
Yeah, I think we need to.
But like, for me, that's the Star Wars that I love. I became a filmmaker because of Star Wars. It's what I knew as a little kid. I wanted to make films and come out west to Hollywood. And so I am a bit more precious with the original stories. I'm not going to change that. I don't hate any of the films. I don't hate them. I know I said I hated 8. 8 is my least favorite, but it does have some very good stuff. I love that Luke is there. I love
films.
They are films. I love the series. I'm the guy that I've watched everything put out from Star Wars. Jon Favreau would be great because he knows how to kickstart a multi-person universe, and I think Star Wars needs that. That if they're going to continue what they're doing, we're not doing the one series of one family through 9 movies. I don't think we can do that anymore. Well, maybe they can. I don't know. But Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, those are the 2 guys people are thinking about for the job. They're both creatives, so who knows if they are up for running a company.
Yeah.
So just like Katie was saying. That's all I got to say. Anyone else before we kind of close out for the evening?
I actually don't remember the first time I ever saw the original Star Wars trilogy. It's just really? always been there.
Yep.
I know I saw episode 1 in theaters.
Oh yeah, like I saw the prequels in theaters because I would have been like 14 when that first one came out. But the original trilogy, I don't remember when I first saw it. We had VHSs. There's footage of me opening up action figures for Christmas when I was 3 years old, and I know all the names.
By the way, Revenge of the Sith is back in theaters for its 20th anniversary.
Yeah, wow.
And by the way, I love Revenge of the Sith. George Lucas directed it. It was one of the poorly reviewed original trilogy. It was the best of that 3. I know that's not saying a lot, but the last 45 minutes of that film are pretty riveting. I love that. I love Revenge of the Sith. I love how dark it goes. I really do. All right.
So if everybody's done with those thoughts, I think when we do our closing, we should all say what our favorite film is.
From Star Wars?
Or just of all time.
No, of Star Wars.
Wait,
guess you
Brad's,
could-
I just want to throw Brad's in there real quick. I saw the first one of the drive-in theater with his parents and siblings.
Yeah.
And where's this? And then part 8, I'm going to tell you, I was in the theater with Brad when we saw part 8, and it made him cry. It made me cry too. We were both bawling when Luke Skywalker walks in and talks to Princess Leia. We had been waiting for that for 50, 40, 30, how many years? 15? I don't know. Since 1983, we've been waiting for that moment, and we got it. And I'm glad they gave it to us. Oh, that was so good. All right. I'll end, and then how about Derek, you will take us out tonight, if you don't mind. All right, I'll start.
Sure.
My favorite of all the films is the original one. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, yes, is a superior film. And that's the one that hooked me in. But my whole life has been driven towards creating films because of the first Star Wars. I love it. I will go to my grave and I will request that they write Star Wars on my tombstone because I love it that much. All right.
Like the whole thing or the opening scroll?
Just the word Star Wars. And they don't have to put episode 4, A New Hope. Just put Star Wars. All right. We'll go around. Cheeseman, Katie, Jake.
Okay. I mean, definitely Phantom Menace. I'm
Okay,
just
whatever.
joking. What's weird about Star Wars is, and as being a filmmaker, it can change. You know, like as a kid, you're definitely probably drawn most to like Return of the Jedi, has all the little characters and things. But as you get older, like, and storytelling, it's really hard to beat the first one because it just feels kind of like a good film, start to finish, and tells its own story, and it didn't necessarily have to continue. So, like, if I'm looking at it from a filmmaking aspect or where I am at now, I probably would say the original. But then having Yoda and all that, and Empire Strikes Back and all the other stuff, the training and stuff like that, it's hard. But I'm going to go original as well.
All right. I'm Katie. They didn't say it, but you can find me at Katie_Christine on Threads. X. I refuse to call it X, so I'm still just going to say Twitter. Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Twitch. If I ever go back, and there's a lot of drama with Twitch anyway. But
those are mean people over there.
So that's where you can find me. My favorite Star Wars movie is the 5th one. When I rewatched all of it, I had a full list of the order, and I totally forgot it. But I know the 5th one is my favorite, closely followed by Episode 3.
Oh, yeah?
I know that is an unpopular opinion, but Episode 3 wrecked me, even though I knew what was going to happen. It's just, y'all know. If you know, you know.
Good for you. That's a good one.
Absolutely love Episode 3. And I love one of my favorite things that has come over the last few years, and despite of all this toxic fandom, is that we got Hayden Christensen back into working and going back into the fandom spaces, which we didn't get for years, and that is a win. Like, to see the man come back and do these meet and greets with fans who are just so happy to welcome him back in despite what they thought of the prequels, and I love that.
Yeah, and before we go to can we just love on Star Wars, guys? I know we sit here and we discuss what we like, what we don't like, things we did, but let's love on it. Let's not make people leave the fandom and leave the series because they're afraid of the fans. That's not fans. That's not fans at all. That's just mean. It's just mean. All right, Jake.
I think the one I watched repeatedly as a kid was Return of the Jedi, so that's still the sentimental favorite for me.
Yeah. Love it. Derek, take us out.
Sure. So I'm Derek. I'm on X and Instagram as Con Guy Derek. Although, I mean, let's be honest, when you have kids and you're teaching middle school, you're not on social media that much. I just use it. I'm old. Actually, you and I are the same age. Anyway, yeah, I would say the same as Jake. Actually, as a kid, I think Return of the Jedi was always my favorite. I know it's gotten some hate from people, which I don't totally get. Yeah, you might be able to point to some weaknesses in the plot, but I loved the whole thing with going after Jabba at the beginning. I love the Ewoks. I love C-3PO's lines in there. I love that Leia gets to turn around on Solo with the I love you, I know line.
I do too.
And I also just love the resolution. I think finally seeing that the character arcs that get complete with the end of that trilogy. It's just a great end of a series right there. And I'm fine that we got more movies later, but it's like what that original plan was. It made for a great story. It finished out, and I'm always loving the resolution of stories, that really take us somewhere.
Before you close out, Jake has something to add to that.
Oh, I forgot. That's also the movie that the main characters also spend the most time together. So I think that's why I like that one the most.
Yes.
They're meeting in the first one. They're pretty much separated throughout most of the second one, except for, Han and Leia and the droids and Chewie and everything. But like everyone's together in that last one for like a good chunk of that middle part. So,
and it's that magic, which we loved. Love that magic. Yeah. Derek.
All right. Well, as we said, yes, we can criticize things, but ultimately we're here because of the things we love. That's what really brings us together. So what else do we need to say?
That's about it. I'm going to add one more thing. Oh, it stopped. 10 years, guys. Woo! See everybody next time.
Thanks for watching The Con Guy, the official program of theconguy.com. Find us on the Weeby Geeks Collective or anywhere you listen to podcasts.